Election 2024 is over. America has voted, and both sexism and racism have won the day. On Liberal Dan Radio, we will hold everyone accountable, from the media that failed to report the threat that Trump poses to this nation, to the people who supported him. We will pick up the mantle to educate the people about his actions, from being dictator on day one, pardoning January 6th domestic terrorists, implementing Project 2025, and any other draconian measures he tries to pass. And now, the resistance begins. Conversation, just come on the chat. LiberalDanRadio.com is the YouTube channel, or twitch.tv/LiberalDanRadio. Either way will get you there. We will open up the phone lines, hopefully, in a little bit. Last time I said I would, but I realized as the show was ending, I never did. So maybe we'll get around to it. We'll get around to it soon, I suppose. If you want to support the show, please remember to like the video, subscribe to the channel, share this and other videos and streams with your friends. Any activity you do on the channel helps the algorithm, and Algor needs more rhythm. You can also buy yourself a membership, become a Liberal Danimal, give memberships to others, buy super chats, super stickers. I set up a super chat goal of 10. If I hit 10, my basically thing is that if I have enough people giving super chats, I will pay it forward and buy super chats for other creators as well, or at least buy memberships for other creators as well, to make sure that we share the love, share the wealth, and also push to get more support across the board, because we need new leftist, liberal, progressive media, because the old ones are failing us. So we need to support everybody across the board. If we're not supporting everybody across the board, we are going to fail and keep failing and keep losing to the MAGA morons who want to change this country irrevocably back to the, Confederacy is basically what they want. Yes, Josh, any activity you do helps the algorithms, liking videos, commenting on them, interacting, responding to other people's comments, etc. Everything you do on the channel will help the algorithm. Smashing, the little heart button down here where you can choose, heart, the shock 100, whatever, those little things as well. You can hit those. That helps the algorithms. Anything you do on the channel will absolutely help. Even if you want to tell me how much of a schmuck I am, that also helps the algorithm and helps other people see it, because YouTube basically says, hey, if the more people comment on it, the more people must like this, so therefore we're going to show it to more people, so then even more people can comment, like, share, etc. Lather, rinse, repeat. Shouts out to everybody who's currently in the chat right now. Suzanne, Aaron, Mad Mac, Josh, Teresa, Jeff, who else am I missing? Roxanne, Jan, Jackie, the Mod Squad, Aaron and Jolie. I mean, you might not think I'm a schmuck, Aaron, but, other people may very well think I'm a schmuck. And if they do, and if they tell me so, on my channel, it helps the algorithm with everything. So there you go. Anyway, let's see, 12 concurrent viewers right now. A little low for a show start, but we'll talk about some other stuff to let some other people trickle in, unless we are losing some active viewers to other people who might be going on newly airing shows today. We will see how that goes. But again, I don't begrudge anybody for watching whatever it is that they want to watch. It's all good in the hood, and we all need to raise every one of our leftist, liberal-leaning, progressive-type ships so that we can more effectively combat conservatism. But not only do we have to combat conservatism, we have to combat also the media that's out there, that the legacy media folks that are just so mind-numbingly stupid that I have no idea how they have any sway whatsoever, why anybody takes them seriously. We'll go into that a little bit. Oh, look at that. Mad Mac gifted 5 Liberal Dan Radio memberships, 5 more Liberal Danimals, including Kimchi. The goddess Kimchi got a gifted membership. So appreciate you very much. Trucker John's in the chat. Good to see you, Trucker John. Trucker John is another good show you should watch. I went ahead and I am a member of his channel as well. So there you go. Oh wait, Mad Mac was gifted a membership by Mad Mac. That's hilarious. Maybe that's what it does. Maybe if you're not a member, it gives it to her. Maybe you just got lucky. Maybe I think it's the latter. But that's awesome that you gifted yourself a membership. You know, don't look a gift horse in the mouth, I guess, or whatever. Would that be appropriate thing to say on this one? I don't know. Anyway, I only got 15 now. That's good. We're climbing up there. Again, remember to smash that like button before we smash the patriarchy. We've got over on Twitch, we do have Aaron over there as well as Orvilby. Thank you, Orvilby, for joining us over there. Appreciate you coming on and watching as always as well. Let's see. One of the things I wanted to talk about before we talked about more of the serious issues, and I think I want to record this as well. So, currently in California, you have a whole bunch of wildfires going on. Apparently, according to the officials over there, none of them have been stopped. They're still going. There are neighborhoods that they didn't have water available when the fire trucks were trying to get to them. Apparently, there's some neighborhoods that didn't even have water available in the hydrants so that they could, combat the fires that are raging across the Palisades. And it's a pretty scary situation going over there, and I don't envy anybody for having to deal with this. One of the people who has apparently lost his homes is conservative Trump supporter James Woods. And apparently a lot of people were jumping for joy and cheering over the fact that James Woods has lost his home, lost his house. And while I'm not going to jump for joy for anybody losing their home, I think it's terrible regardless. I do have some comments to make about it anyway, simply because some of the things that I've read that either he said or whatever that's going on with it seems a little silly. He says, "It tests your soul, losing everything at once, I must say. I couldn't believe our lovely little home in the hills held on this long. It feels like losing a loved one." And if that isn't MAGA conservatism in a nutshell, I don't know what is. Why? Because MAGA conservatism puts the value of, non-living entities as being equal or even superior than lives. He feels like losing a house is like losing a loved one. And I don't want him to lose his house. I'm not happy that he lost his house. I'm not going to jump for joy and cheer that he lost his house, but I think it's kind of weird that you would compare losing a house to losing a loved one. Now, losing memories, losing things that have actual memories to it, yeah, fine. There are things individual things that may hold memories that you might not want to lose, and that's another issue altogether. But comparing the loss of a house to a loved one just seems to be really weird, but seems to be, right in line for MAGA type conservative thought. But maybe, just maybe, he might decide to become a little more liberal in his old age. I doubt it. But why would I say that? Well, because of the fact that James Woods' homeowner's insurance canceled his policy a month before. And I think it's correct to say that he didn't cancel it himself, that it was his company that canceled it for him, i.e., they participated in an act of rescission. as far as it sounds. I could be wrong, but it sounds like that's what happened. Maybe James Woods will take a look at that and say, oh, well, these people are insuring houses up until the point where they feel that they're now going to lose money, and then they stop insuring all the houses in the certain areas. But that's not how insurance is supposed to work. When you have insurance and you're selling insurance, you should be able to, rely on that service as a customer of that insurance to be able to hold on to that insurance regardless of whether or not they're having lots of claims in any one given year or not. One of the good things about the Affordable Care Act is that it eliminated rescission. It eliminated the ability for insurers to cancel policies just because somebody was too sick. Well, this is akin to canceling policies because an area has too much damage to it. Well, that's the point. You take the good years and you profit in the good years, but you're also supposed to put enough away in those good years to be able to absorb the losses in the bad years. It's one of the problems with property insurance that we have here in Louisiana, in that in order to attract more insurers to come write policies in this state, the legislature, in its infinite wisdom, decided that it was going to allow companies to cancel policies before 3 years. It used to be you had to write a policy and you had to have that policy there for 3 years before you could cancel it. Now, they've eliminated that provision. So now, you can write a policy until it starts seeming more dangerous for your company, and then you can just eliminate it, get rid of it, whatever. And now the person is stuck using the insurer of last resort, i.e. Citizens Insurance. And while there have been some changes made to Citizens that might bring some premiums down, the issue here is that Citizens is so expensive in the first place because it's where everybody goes when everybody can't find insurance anywhere else. But if you're writing insurance policies in Louisiana, you should be required to write insurance policies across Louisiana. If you're writing insurance policies in California, you should be required to write insurance policies across the state of California. And you shouldn't be able to cancel those policies that you've written, in the middle of, especially in the middle of where you're getting fires or whatever. Because you're putting people at risk of losing everything. They've paid in all these premiums to cover their property, and now that you've profited from all these people, they're cashing out and leaving. Insurance is basically a gamble. You're gambling that the amount of money that you're going to pay up as an insured person is going to, in the long run, make it so that you don't have to suffer a huge hit if something bad happens to your property. Conversely, if you are a person who's writing insurance policies, you are gambling that you are not going to have to put more money out than what you take in, including, proceeds from investments or what have you. But again, insurance companies have proven themselves over and over again to be a bunch of crooks, and that can't be trusted. So like in Louisiana, if you want to write policies, you should be able to write policies, or have to write policies in the entire state. If you're not going to write policies in the entire state, then you don't get to write policies at all. Let people buy into Citizens. Let the pooling effect take effect. Let it happen so that everybody can get a reasonable rate on insurance. And I'm sure the same thing should apply over anywhere. Then again, insurance companies were able to get rid of, for example, flood coverage by pushing flood coverage on the federal government because of the risk that comes with flood coverage. So, and now in Louisiana, for example, they've managed to push off wind and hail as being a separate thing that has a higher deductible or what have you, and people have to pay huge deductibles on their houses before they see anything. Before seeing anything altogether. So, will James Woods have a change of heart and become more liberal in his old age, simply because of the fact that he's now seeing the end result of late-stage capitalism, the end result of what happens when greed takes over and wins the day? I'm not going to hold my breath, but here's hoping that maybe some people will, and not have to learn how to find out after they effed around. Anyway, what do you think? Agree, disagree? Leave your comments down below. Remember to like the video, share it, subscribe to the channel, and of course, have a good day. So there's that video that we've done. Let's see, Roxanne, that happened to me at the end of 2024 with my coverage. I'm very sorry that happened. Of course, yeah. I mean, people just stopped. My insurance went away 1 year, and I had to go on Citizens. And the insurance that I got was actually like half of my insurance. Allstate covered one half of my insurance, like the part that was like fire and hazard type insurance. But when it came to wind and hail, they wrote that they got another policy from somebody else, and that company decided that it went under and couldn't, and decided it was going to go under, so it decided to just leave the state. But it wasn't even an approved insurer in the state, and I was supposed to be required to write something and say, I allow you to get me this policy, yet they never did it. So they scammed the state, they scammed me, and I'm just lucky as all get out that Hurricane Ida did not cause me to have any sort of losses whatsoever, except for maybe my sanity. But hey, Mike, thank you so much. Appreciate you for the several super chats. 199, 299, 22991s. Aaron also gave me a super chat. Thank you so much, Aaron, for your consistent and loyal support of the show. Let's see. Michael, if you give me a huge one, I'll just flat out say your name without just saying Michael or Mr. Hunt or Michael Hunt. I'll just say your real username if you make it big enough. Anyway, just kidding. Anyway. What else people saying? Like, so my homeowner's insurance, Penny, to create my homeowner's insurance company of 20 years just canceled my policy. The company is no longer covering homes in Ohio. Wow. I mean, at least they pulled out of the entirety of Ohio. But, I mean, I hope you're able to find better coverage or additional coverage, because what happens? What happens in that case? And why? I'm wondering why they decided to stop writing these policies in Ohio itself. It's probably something where they figure maybe they had too many losses and they're just gutting their policies and trying to get out of having to pay all this money. That's why reinsurance exists. Reinsurance exists so that if you take on so much risk that you can actually pass on that risk to another company. And so you have insurance, you have reinsurance, and then you have retrocessionaire, as if I'm remembering correctly, where, so I buy an insurance policy from Company A. Company A goes, hey, I'm going to buy some reinsurance so that if any of these policies have more than X loss, then I'm going to reinsure. They're going to pay a premium to another insurer that's going to cover them, so they don't have to pay out as much. But that insurer is not going to have to pay out until they hit those high total amounts. And then the reinsurance of reinsurance is called a retrocessionaire, and they then reinsure the reinsurers so that those reinsurers can pay a premium and buy insurance policies for, to cover their losses if their losses go above and beyond what they don't want to have to pay. So all those mechanisms exist to try and minimize loss, but yet still you have these people playing games, effing around, and now the people are finding out. So, hey, Big Hook, good to see you. Janelle, good to see you. See, Steve, my friend was the sports and music man. I was the movie guy. I've got a separate Rangers and Celtics fans. They are all exactly the same. F that. Good night, Suzanne. Thank you for stopping by. I appreciate you for stopping by. I hope you feel better. My knees were hurting because I went around and walked around the grocery store that's closing soon because I wanted to see if there are any good deals. I got some. It is what it is. Josh, we switched auto insurance companies recently, saved a bunch for the same policy. Amen. I had to do that. I switched from Allstate to Geico when it came to... thank you, Mike, for another $99 super chat or sticker or whatever. Appreciate you. So I had Allstate. We were going to add another car to the insurance because we're 2 drivers with 3 cars. they wanted to jump us up to like $750 a month or something to cover all 3 cars, despite the fact that we're not driving any more than what we were before, but their risk was bigger. Didn't make any sense. So we switched to Geico and we saved more than 50%. We're paying like, I think, $270 or something for the amount of insurance that we're paying on 3 vehicles. And basically because we both work from home, so we don't drive a lot. So therefore, there's no need to have to pay a whole lot of money because we drive a lot. We don't drive a lot at all. I mean, we stay home. We work from home. You know, I just have to drive my kid to school back and forth in the morning, and my wife typically picks him up from school back and forth in the evening. My older one takes a bus to school, yellow bus or whatever. But anyway. Thank you again, Mike. You're just making it, Mike Hunt is making it rain in the chat. How about that? I'll just say it now. Mike Hunt is making it rain. Josh, my 3rd vehicle is labeled as pleasure. All my vehicles were labeled as pleasure. Before I actually pulled that trigger, I actually went ahead and asked the customer service agent. So I was like, we all work from home. Can we just label all of our vehicles pleasure vehicles because we don't drive them a lot? Like, for example, I picked up my mother-in-law's car, became ours at some point last year, but, you know, after she passed away in April, you know, I was driving that more than I was driving my van, and guess what? I think I've only put on like 2,000 miles in the last 7-8 months of last year. She didn't drive much either. Like, it was a 2020 Kia Soul, and which Kia sucks, and I'll have another playlist talking about that at some point soon with a bunch of shorter videos describing my issues with Kia. But she only had put like just under 8,000 miles on her vehicle before she had passed away. I'm like, or maybe it was like just a little over 7, I don't know. But I'm at 9,000 after 8 months. So we don't drive a lot. So anyway, Elizabeth May proposes California, Oregon, Washington join Canada after Trump's 51st state threat. Well, here's the thing about the Canada as the 51st state threat. It's a silly thing to make Canada one whole state. Canada has several provinces. So if anything, we should be taking each province as a separate state, not the entire thing as one. I mean, we shouldn't have a state that's like twice the size of Alaska. It should be split up, and it probably should be split up even more. And we should make it, and we should gerrymander it if we were to take over Canada. We should gerrymander it to make sure that lots of progressive/liberal states are formed so that we can take back the Electoral College, we can take back Congress, etc., etc., etc. Hey, good to see you, Robin M. Thank you for joining. Anyway, I'm sure Canada wants nothing to do with us. And Donald Trump almost became this week's Hypocrite of the Week after being Hypocrite of the Year last year, simply because of the fact that Donald Trump was talking all about how, you know, he wasn't going to have foreign entanglements, foreign wars. He criticized other people for their involvement in foreign entanglements and foreign wars. But now he's talking about invading and potentially using military force to take back the Panama Canal. What? Now, when Jimmy Carter, who passed away, signed the treaty that worked out that deal where Panama controlled the Panama Canal, it also basically said that we would have unlimited use of it. So that's part of the treaty. Ronald Reagan complained, I guess, about it during his election against Jimmy Carter in 1980. But when asked after he was elected and took office as to why he didn't do anything to try and rectify the situation, Ronald Reagan actually had to say, it was a good treaty. There was no reason for me to actually rescind it or try and rescind it. So Ronald Reagan said the treaty for the Panama Canal deal was fine, but now Donald Trump knows better. I mean, Donald Trump doesn't know anything, but still. And Greenland, we're going to use. He's not right. He's not gonna say anything about, you know, not using, whether or not he would use military force or economic sanctions to try and get Greenland. I don't know what his obsession with Greenland is. It's absurd, but there he is. He's obsessed with that, and he's obsessed with this whole idea. Now, part of it, I'm sure, is he's just throwing spaghetti on the wall to try and see what sticks, or he's just throwing spaghetti on the wall to not use it for that, saying, but to instead say, let's distract everybody with this nonsense so they pay no attention to the man behind the curtain. Let's distract everybody with this silly Greenland, Panama Canal, Canada thing. Let's talk about that so that people are distracted with that so that we can do some smoke and mirrors just like a snake oil salesman does, just like the Wizard of Oz did, and be able to say, look, we're going to really be working on this over here, and then when he does what he really wants to do, it'll be too late for us to notice. So, yeah, I was hoping, Jolie, that Mike wasn't realizing that the 1, 2, 3, 5, 10 or whatever, that all of those smaller super chats or super stickers were not going to count towards the overall goal. But I mean, if you do give more than 5, I'll count that as 1 technically. So if it gets to 9, out of 10, and then yours combined is another 5, I will still count that as an overall 1. Even if that doesn't count it, I will count it. So there you go. America voted for jingly keys. Exactly, Josh. We were basically like, ooh, squirrel. There's a lot of stupid things. And there's going to be a shirt that I have the idea in my head. It just needs to be designed and created. We're not going to be making it at home. However, my sister, my younger sister, technically stepsister, but she's my sister, whatever. Her and her husband have a t-shirt shop, and they're going to be having a website, and I'm going to have a section on the website that's devoted just to Liberal Dan Radio shirts. And so the first one is going to be this one. So when we get that shirt, when we get that designed and pushed out there, I will share the link, and I'll probably be asking y'all to A, buy the shirt, and B, because it not just helps me in the podcast, but it also helps a small business that happens to be run by my family as well. So we will see that shirt hopefully sooner than later. I do have other shirts that I have to get out there and get printed. If we can't get the ones made at home, I'll just go ahead and have her make those shirts as well for me, and we'll get those sent out to the patrons as well. So let's see, Big Hook, grandstanding for maggots because Mexico paying for the wall isn't selling anymore. Exactly. Thank you, Floyd, for stopping by. Appreciate it. Anything you say in the chat, liking the video absolutely helps the algorithm. So appreciate anything you do say in here as well. But let's see. I do want to pull over this one thing before I get to the actual... Actually, no. Let's play the Hypocrite of the Week first, and then we will go ahead and talk about some other stuff that I want to talk about in the show. Because I did say that Donald Trump was not the Hypocrite of the Week, but this is the Hypocrite of the Week. This week's Hypocrite of the Week is Elon Musk, who bought Twitter saying it was going to be a bastion of unbridled free speech and that he was a free speech absolutist. Musk then changed how blocking worked after his ex blocked him, and now he has announced an algorithm tweak to tamp down on negativity on X after people were mean to him. Causation or correlation? You decide. To hear the Hypocrite of the Week each week, tune in live Mondays and Wednesdays at 8 p.m. Central on liberaldanradio.com or twitch.tv/liberaldanradio for more talk from the left. That's right. And there you go. So Elon Musk is the first Hypocrite of the Week of the year. So who will be next week's? Again, you got to tune in every week. If you're a patron, you got to see that a half an hour early because they got it done a half an hour before the show. But becoming a patron is one way to support the show on a month-to-month basis. And if you become a Liberal Dan patron, the first month is 50% off. Just go to patreon.com/liberaldan or patreon.liberaldan.com. Either way will get you there. And we will, you can support the show that way. And you'll save. New patrons will get 1 month at 50% off the price and to support the show. So, of course, If you can't afford to support the show, I totally understand that. You can do lots of other things. For example, again, sharing videos, liking, subscribing, etc. Now, one thing I did want to talk about before moving on to the... thank you very much, Mad Mac. Appreciate it. I'm going to share a link to a GoFundMe. Oh, it's too long. Hold on. It's not able to take that big of a link. There we go. There is a better, shorter link. We are going to pop that link up there, and we will pin the link as well. So what this is this GoFundMe is for... Hey, Mike, thank you again for more super chats. Just being not valid. That's funny, Mike. Appreciate you anyway. So back in the day on the show, one of my first patrons was your boy Chris. Chris is part of kind of the Voltron group that we would form every once in a while, including Demonox and Yosh. We did a show together with a whole bunch with some other people as well, where we were discussing the whole thing about GME and stonks and to the moon and whatever, and discussing how short selling works, everything like that. So Chris was one of the initial Liberal Dan Radio patrons. He hasn't been in a while because of some family issues that he's had to deal with. Unfortunately, his father passed away just recently, this past week, and somebody else has created a GoFundMe for his benefit to be able to help with burial expenses, etc. The amount of the fact that they've come out and people have come out. When I gave my $15 or whatever, I could afford a little bit. I had gotten up to $2,000 yesterday. It's already up to $5,000. So people have been reaching out and showing amazing support to Chris. And I appreciate him for everything he's done to help the show. I appreciate him. He's a good person. He's a good guy. I feel sorry for him and the loss of his family, his loved one. And, if you are able to, please consider tossing a couple shekels his way as well. Otherwise, please consider taking that and sharing it and saying, hey, this is posted on Liberal Dan Radio's stream and Liberal Dan stream or whatever, and this person could use a little extra help when it comes to covering things like funeral expenses, etc. So I know what it feels like to have loss. My mother-in-law, died last year. We hardly had anybody helping us out with that. I think she had a little bit of an insurance policy that helped cover some of those expenses. I don't think Chris's dad did have any sort of insurance policy, like life insurance, to be able to cover that. So he definitely needs more of the help than I did at the time. And anyway, he's a good guy. He is deserving of all the support and that he can get, both emotionally and financially. And so anyway, if you can't afford this to pay a little bit towards it, at least consider rebroadcasting out to your socials so that more people can help them out and give them help in this time of need that they have. Anyway, so there's that. So let's see, what are we going to do next? We are going to, before we move, we did want to talk about, I guess, a couple other things before we get to the media issue that I wanted to talk about. Facebook has announced that they are going to stop fact-checking. Now, Facebook fact-checking has been quite ridiculous. I will be honest in my fact that I've not liked Facebook fact-checking and how they've done it. There's been things that they post or that they fact-check that are incorrect in my mind. Like they fact-checked and the fact-check was absolutely incorrect. We've covered some of that on this show. There was one time when Nimbus Yosh, the host of the most, Nimbus Yosh with the smooth sounds of the Percy podcast, who's getting married soon. Big congratulations out to him. Anyway, he had shared a link about the Ligma virus. Of course, if you don't know what Ligma is, you say, what's the Ligma? And the person will be like, Ligma balls or whatever like that. So it's like a funny, stupid little thing. But anyway, Ligma, the Ligma virus. So I shared a post about the so-called Ligma virus, knowing that it was funny. And I knew that it was funny, but it was fact-checked by Facebook. Nobody should be fact-checking jokes by Facebook. I've had other things fact-checked by them as well that have turned out to be completely inaccurate. And there's nothing I can do. Again, we've talked about some of those on the show. There's nothing I can do about it because Facebook believes these articles, believes what the articles say, and then there's no chance to counter it because there's no real way to counter those articles. So what Facebook is moving to is, I don't like the fact that there would be no fact checking, but I don't even know if this is any better. Because now they're moving to a more community notes style type thing like Twitter has. And while it is fun to see Elon Musk's posts get community noted by his own platform, it's still not necessarily, it's still crowdsourcing fact checking, which if more people get behind the false story, the false narrative then becomes true. But again, more people would know correct information if we had a reliable media. We do not have a reliable media. And I've talked about this before. Let me just prep this thing before we actually go ahead and replay or start playing this video. So we have a situation, we have media that really can't be trusted. Now, not like fake news like Donald Trump is, but individuals who are serving as hosts of popular shows, who are saying things that are just factually untrue, and who are saying things and making predictions and doing all that stuff. They're basically are showing themselves to be unreliable. And I've talked about that some on the show. For example, we have Lawrence O'Donnell, who back in 2015, 2016, was saying that Donald Trump was never going to actually run for president. And he gave all these reasons why Donald Trump would never run for president. He said it repeatedly on his show. Multiple episodes. He came forward and said this. Well, guess what? Donald Trump ran for president. And unfortunately, he won. Lawrence O'Donnell said on another show more recently that the Republicans who run Florida will get the answer that they need, and maybe they'll stop pushing these draconian abortion bills, because he believed that the 57% that came out and voted in support of the amendment to the Constitution of the state of Florida that would enshrine the right to have an abortion in their Constitution, he believed that that would be a eureka moment to these people. Well, they would stop being anti-choice, that they would stop pushing these draconian abortion laws on people. No. Again, it's not true, because it shows that he doesn't have any sort of understanding about how people's minds work when it comes to politics. There may very well be a significant chunk of the electorate who doesn't want abortion to be outlawed, but many of those people, or enough of those people, are also still Republicans, and while the issue of abortion, they'll vote pro-choice if given the option to, the issue of abortion is not enough to get them to vote for Democrats or to not support the Republican Party or what have you. That Lawrence O'Donnell doesn't understand this shows that he has no business prognosticating political issues, simply because of the fact that he's been wrong that many times. Well, he was wrong again. I turned on his show last night, and I had to turn it off real quick, but this is part of the clip that he was playing, and we're going to go into it, and we'll discuss my issue with what he has to say here, because again, he doesn't know what he's talking about.
Most of the Trump lies land uncontested by any of the reporters in the room. Sometimes what Donald Trump says after a question is an explicit refusal to answer the question, like today when Donald Trump said, "It's a military strategy, and I'm not answering your questions on military strategy." No other president has been allowed to respond to questions that way and leave it at that. Every other president who tried to say, "I'm not answering your questions on military strategy," would have been immediately bombarded with follow-up questions by the White House press corps. But
I don't think that's necessarily true. I remember George W. Bush making some sort of similar comments pertaining to things like the Iraq War and the war on terrorism or whatever. But that's not why I'm having this video, but I did want to throw that in there because, again, Lawrence O'Donnell should know better, and he doesn't. And I'm sure there's others who also refuse to answer questions in the history of this country about said issues, and he's just deciding to, I don't know if he just doesn't know, if he's ignorant of the facts or not, or what, but let's continue.
no one dared to do that today in a so-called press conference where Donald Trump said the single most insane things ever said by a president of the United States about anything, very much including military strategy. In response to a serious question from the New York Times, Donald Trump refused to rule out going to war with Panama, Greenland, and Canada. It was, of course, a mistake for the New York Times to take the Donald Trump idiot bait in his opening remarks when he talked about taking control of the Panama Canal, Greenland, and Canada. That was the idiot bait in the press conference. Anyone who asks Donald Trump about what is now his public plan as of today to make Canada the 51st state or to make Greenland part of the United States or seize the Panama Canal is falling for the Trump idiocy that will absolutely never, ever happen. Not one word Donald Trump speaks about those issues will ever happen. This is the Mexico will pay for the wall idiocy updated to 2025. Donald Trump knows he can't do the old Mexico will pay for the wall bit again. And Donald Trump knows that all of his bits must be progressively more and more outrageous. We are 8 years away from the ridiculous lie fantasy of Mexico will pay for the wall. So sure, it's time to make Canada the 51st state.
Okay, so why would we believe Lawrence O'Donnell at this point? Why, again, I understand that conservatives believe that the moral of the story of the boy who cried wolf is that if somebody lies to you and they repeatedly lie to you over and over again, the conservative moral of the story is you should still believe them, because what if they're telling the truth the next time? Right? When the real moral of the story of the boy who cried wolf is, if you lie all the time, people are going to stop believing you, and as such, won't believe you when you actually tell the truth. Now, do I actually believe that Donald Trump is going to be successful in, taking back Greenland or taking back the Panama Canal or making, Canada the 51st state or whatever? I don't believe he'll be successful in doing so, but that doesn't mean that we should not take him seriously, that he might want to try and do such things. That doesn't make me believe that we should absolutely try and take Donald Trump seriously when it comes to those things. Even though he might be very well using it as a distraction, we should still take his words very seriously, because they are various serious threats to Panama, to Denmark, who owns Greenland, to our northern neighbors, Canada. Do you not believe, Lawrence O'Donnell, that Donald Trump would do reckless things in the name of this country to benefit himself? Donald Trump's mad at Panama because he lost his hotel and whatever, because the courts there ruled against him. Donald Trump's obsessed with Greenland for who knows what reason. Maybe he thinks it's actually green land, and as such, he'll be able to make lots of, resorts on that land, and whatever the hell is with Canada. But even if you don't believe he'll be able to be successful doing those things, just as he wasn't successful with making Mexico pay for the wall, he still had the wall being built. So even if he's not successful in doing these things, that doesn't mean that he's not going to try and do these things, and as such be a destabilizing force in the global political climate, in the sphere of global politics, so to speak. But furthermore, when Lawrence O'Donnell said that Donald Trump would never run for president, he was wrong. When Lawrence O'Donnell said that the Republican GOP leadership would take into consideration that 57% of Florida voted to support abortion rights, he was wrong. They're never going to waver on that issue because they know the truth about their voters, and Lawrence O'Donnell doesn't. So if Lawrence O'Donnell is wrong about those other things, why should we trust that he's correct about this one? He's an unreliable speaker. He has proven himself to be unreliable time and time again, yet still manages to maintain a spot in the national media spotlight. And again, just to reiterate, I don't think he's going to be able to take back Panama, or at least do it easily. I don't think he's going to seize Greenland. I don't think Canada is going to be a new state in our union. The problem is the fact that he wants to try anyway. That's the issue. And Lawrence O'Donnell is completely dismissing it out of hand, as if Donald Trump's recklessness is not a threat to our nation and to the rest of the world. Anyway, what do you think? Agree, disagree? Leave your comments down below. Remember to like, share, subscribe, and have a good day. Thank you, Dean. Appreciate seeing you. Were right, Dan. Thank you. Bill P. Who is hammering? Stop that. Good to see you, Bill. Don't let the boy watch the sheep is the lesson. That might very well be another lesson of the boy who cried wolf. But yes, don't let that boy watch the sheep. But the reason you don't let the boy watch the sheep is because he lies about, the wolf. He lies about the wolf coming. And then eventually the wolf does come, but he's lied so many times that they don't believe him. Dean, a concept of a strategy. Yes. Facebook makes me think of the Monty Python mugs. Do da da di su da da. Do da da dis requiem. Using a Nintendo game because that was the closest thing I had to smack myself in the head with that wouldn't hurt. So, anyway. Government organized money is just as dangerous as government as organized mob. Yes, it is. Tim, I'm waiting for the Facebook Truth Social merger. I'm actually waiting for the, I'm waiting for the Truth Social merger first. That's what I'm waiting for. I don't necessarily know if Facebook, if Zuckerberg is going to want to merge with Musk. I don't know if that's the case. But I am waiting for the Truth Social merger, because that's one other way that I think Elon Musk is going to use his ability to funnel a lot of cash to Donald Trump to be able to get more influence, to enable him to be able to suck off the teat of the American taxpayer and get even more and more and more contracts with the government through his supposed Department of Governmental Efficiency, which is not a department. And he'll do that, and guess what? He'll become even more wealthy and become maybe the first trillionaire in this country, if not the entire planet. So, lunatic toddler, yes. My favorite clip of O'Donnell was the meltdown over the hammering. I don't actually know what the meltdown over the hammering is, but, who knows? Let's go ahead and close that and turn off the audio and close that before we go over that. Let's boo. I refer to Lawrence as the moral arbiter of politics. I don't even know if he's a moral arbiter. I don't know if he can be an arbiter of anything political, because he's wrong all of the time. He's absolutely wrong. Don't forget Puerto Rico. Yeah. Puerto Rico should be the 51st state, but unfortunately, there's issues. There are people in Puerto Rico who understand that they will financially benefit if Puerto Rico remains a territory and not an actual state. And so they oppose the vote, and they fund the vote against becoming a state every time it comes up. I know somebody who is from Puerto Rico who has actually, knows some of the people who are involved politically, and as such, she has said to me that there are people who are Puerto Ricans who will absolutely fight against them becoming a state, and then they'll convince enough people to vote against it so it never passes. Real Bill P. The 51st state will be called confusion. Yes. The first state is Delaware, and that's the state of boredom, because Delaware, for as nice it is, and I visited a lot because of the simple fact that my grandparents live there, my uncle lives there, yada, yada, yada. When I stayed there over the summer, it was so mind-numbingly boring. Oh my God. I mean, even Rehoboth Beach isn't as good as Ocean City, Maryland. So, but yeah, big hug. These are pipe dream distractions from Trump while he raids the government treasury via his billionaire cabinet. That is also true. But again, I've gotten to the point where if Lawrence O'Donnell says something is true, I'm going to believe it to be false. Jeff Curry, renaming the Gulf of Mexico may fix a lot of economic problems. I saw a meme earlier today where they said there's many different ways that we could lower the price of eggs that have been posited out there. A, produce more eggs. B, and that's supply side economics. B, demand less eggs. If you demand less eggs, the price for eggs go down because less people are demanding it. That's how supply and demand works. And 3, rename the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America. Here's what I don't get. Why Donald Trump didn't just start off from the get-go saying, we're going to rename the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of Trump. Trump Gulf. I mean, he'd probably want to, and if he felt like he could get away with it, he probably would. So, see, this is a big smash and grab robbery of the U.S. It is, absolutely. I mean, and that's one of the things that conservatives refuse to understand, is that during they'll be like, oh, Donald Trump didn't take a salary he donated his salary, his presidential salary, when he was president last time. He's such a good man for doing that. No, he did it for a tax write-off while funneling government stays at hotels through his resorts, as such making him and his family a crap ton of money. I said way back then, when Donald Trump is going to turn the couch over and shake it for all the cushions, shake it so all the change comes out of the cushions, so he won't have to, worry about his pittance of a presidential salary. So, Dean, I live on the Gulf of Mexico. I'm going to plant signs on the beach. Yeah, the Gulf of America. I mean, I'm close to the Gulf of Mexico. I mean, it's not right on the Gulf of Mexico, but it's a short drive away. It's an hour or less. So maybe the Gulf of fascist America. Donald Trump is probably so stupid, he probably thought it was the Gulf of Mexico first, and someone had to correct him. So I saw a post, the Gulf of egg prices. Pretty much. But again, what is that going to do to solve the price? You are not going to get cheaper eggs by renaming the Gulf of Mexico. And I was listening to Jeff this morning, Jeff Carrera in the morning, and they were all laughing and joking about the whole, Gulf of America, They probably would love the idea, support the idea. Why? That's not going to do anything about the price of eggs. You're not going to get $2 gasoline, $2 a gallon gasoline, by retaking the Panama Canal and taking control of Greenland. I mean, I do believe that Donald Trump could get the price of gasoline down to under $2 a gallon. Absolutely. He is absolutely capable of doing that. Why do I believe he's capable of doing that? Because he did it before during the pandemic. Because he mismanaged the pandemic so badly that we had to stay home for such a long time that the demand for oil and gas plummeted. So yes, Donald Trump could absolutely get gasoline to under $2 a gallon. The price of which, at that time at least, was the death of hundreds of thousands of needless deaths of 100,000 or more American lives who should not have had to die but did because Donald Trump mismanaged the goddamn pandemic. See, Bill, it's 14 degrees here in the mountains. Internet is electric power is spotty. If I disappear, it's the weather. The weather got your internet. Stay warm. It is cold here in Louisiana too. It's not. I mean, we might actually get below freezing down here in New Orleans. And actually, when we're below freezing in New Orleans, because it's so humid and moist down here, the air is so moist that it's a very bitter cold. Like unless I'm actually at the Inner Harbor in Baltimore, I would rather 32 degrees in Maryland versus 32 degrees here in New Orleans. Now, it can get even colder in Maryland, and in Maryland you'll see it'll be colder for longer, and as such you'll be more likely to see snow stick to the ground and get blizzards and the like. But yeah, no. In the rare occasions that it gets under freezing here in this area, it's bitter. It is a very bitter cold. Dean Baker, the Gulf of Huevos. Well, Donald Trump wouldn't want to call it the Gulf of Huevos because he wouldn't want to use any Spanish language, so to speak. And that will remind him about the fact that if eggs don't drop in prices, then people will be reminded that eggs have not dropped in prices during his tenure as president. Although, remember, I mean, Donald Trump was talking about Canada, making Canada the 51st state. I was sitting here going, remember I said a few weeks ago that Donald Trump could probably be convinced to try and annex Mexico so that his numbers can be tweaked. So if we don't want people coming from Mexico illegally, he could solve that by just taking over Mexico and making Mexico the 51st or whatever state. And as such, anybody traveling at this point from Mexico over here wouldn't be an illegal border crossing anymore. So that could, of course, he wouldn't do that because he's a bigot and he doesn't want to have more Mexicans in the country. Donald Trump wants less Mexicans in the country. Donald Trump is a candidate for white supremacy, anti-Semitism, racism, bigotry, xenophobia, etc. And he is going to make America great again. Just means make America white again. So, see, MJ Curry, we will be just below 40 overnight here in Olympia, Washington. That's crazy because of the kind of pseudo-tropical climate that Washington State seems to get. Trump and Fox will tell them that prices are better and the maggots will believe it. Absolutely, they will. Absolutely, because they believe so much crap. That's why Donald Trump said after the 2016 Nevada primaries that he loves the poorly educated, because a fool is born every minute, or sucker is born every minute, and he as a snake oil salesman has a much easier time selling his snake oil to the people who are poorly educated, who are now more likely to believe anything he says and not question it. Again, that's why Donald Trump doesn't want fact checkers, because he doesn't want people fact checking what he says. And the reason he came out saying the lying press or the fake news when he came out with that in 2016, it's because he was following Hitler's playbook. If you make people doubt the fact checkers, then they will doubt the facts that they check. It's one of the main parts of the Hitler playbook that Donald Trump has embraced wholeheartedly. So, waiting for Steve from across the pond to tell us what the temperature is over there. Of course, the numbers will be different because they use Celsius. Does Canada use Celsius too, I guess? So the video I saw offering to make Washington, Oregon, and California Canadian provinces was great. I mean, that would be great for them. I'd have to move to Canada, or move to Canada, i.e. California at that point, because I wouldn't want to live in the United States of America where California is gone and therefore you lose a whole bunch. You lose, or those 3 states are gone, and you lose 6 senators and a whole bunch of congresspeople. So, Steve, it's -3. -3 Celsius? Yes? Anyway. I do want to record one more video as part of the show, so I'm going to do it again. Trump needs to read the follow-up book to Mein Kampf. What is that? I thought he wrote it, or he co-wrote it, or had someone else write it. I thought that was The Art of the Deal, is the follow-up to Mein Kampf. Celsius used over 50 years in Canada. Yep. Well, see, and it's funny, because one of my favorite jokes is when, like, they'll say things like, this thing is 3 football fields long, or you could pile 17 camels high and get this, or whatever, because the Americans will do anything anything they could possibly do to just not use the metric system. You'd think American men would want to use the metric system more than anybody else, right? Because wouldn't you? They would probably be like, well, in inches, I'm only, the MAGA folks would be like, hey, in inches, I'm only 4 inches, but in centimeters, it's a much higher number. So therefore, my member is automatically much bigger because it's a higher number. Because they don't understand math either. And they don't understand science. And they don't understand a whole lot of things. Don't know much about history. Don't know much about biology. Don't know much about the science book. Don't know much about the test they took. But they do know they love Donald Trump. Anyway. A Scaramucci is a unit of time now. Yes. Look it up. Mein Todd. Really? Is it a mea culpa type of thing? I don't know. Tilted Mein Toff? What? Anyway. So yeah, you got a little extra singing from me out of me today, I guess. Let's see, one of the things... Let's see. So on Jeff Career's radio program, I've called in over the last couple days now, talking about Jake Lang and making some of the points that I made on Monday's show about Jake Lang and how, he's not in a gulag, and giving all of the reasons that Jake Lang is not in a so-called gulag. Nobody in gulags are able to tweet from prison. Nobody from gulags are able to form a national militia, an armed militia. Now, apparently, Jeff Career, according to his show this morning, doesn't know that, Jake Lang has included Jeff in his national militia thing. Jeff Career, this morning on his show, claims that he is not part of it, and that he also warned Jake Lang to not do it. Which to me kind of helps to prove my point that Jake Lang wants to form armed militias. That's what Jake Lang is, a violent-minded person. On Instagram, a video showed that someone asked him in their own Instagram video, what's next if this doesn't work? And he's like, guns. And now he's forming an armed militia. And Jeff knew about, whatever his, whatever Jake Lang's little militia is called. Is it called, was it NAMBLA or Napalm or whatever it is? Yeah, so there's that. But there's another thing that I thought about maybe about 5 minutes after I hung up with Jeff, or actually after he ended the phone call with me because he had to move on to other people, was the fact that he keeps asking, like, how would you feel if, all these things that were supposedly done to Jake Lang were done to you? And Jake Lang claims that all he was doing was trying to protect the lives of people who are being assaulted by police. So I had a thought in my mind. I'm going to pose it to y'all now. I'm probably going to pose it to him the next time I'm able to call into his show, which is this. Remember George Floyd? George Floyd was killed by Derek Chauvin. He was found guilty of the crime of murder. Chauvin pled guilty in 2021 to federal charges violating his civil rights after he was found guilty, sentenced to 22 and a half years in prison, convicted of unintentional second-degree murder, third-degree murder, and second-degree manslaughter. So he was found guilty of all of his charges. Now, conservatives will still argue that it wasn't the knee to the neck for 8.5 minutes or what have you that caused him to die, that it was somehow drugs in his system. I'm sure the knee on his neck for 8.5 minutes aided things. So they're trying to argue that all Jake Lang was trying to do was simply help protect people who were being trampled by the police, being attacked by the police, etc. Well, these people wouldn't have been, swung at or whatever. The police wouldn't have to use physical force against these people if they weren't charging the Capitol, if they weren't trying to bust through gates, doors, break windows, break doors, etc. Police would have had to do anything. You had to use any force had people actually followed the law, isn't that what the law and order people say? If you just follow the law, you wouldn't be in trouble, right? That's what they say. So what if I happen to be witnessing live when Derek Chauvin had his knee on the neck of George Floyd? Clearly George Floyd suffering. What if I walked up to Mr. Chauvin, pulled out his nightstick or whatever, and started attacking Derek Chauvin? And they arrested me and put me in jail and put me up on charges for trying to prevent a police officer from doing their duty and using deadly force or using assault with a deadly weapon against a police officer. Would Jeff Crouere go on his radio show and say, well, Liberal Dan thought that he was just trying to save the life of George Floyd, and that's why he did. So that's why he shouldn't be in jail, because he was simply had the intent of just saving a life. Now, I don't believe for a second, personally, that Jake Lang was trying to save anybody's life with that. He might have been trying to use it as a convenient after thing. Maybe he helped pick somebody up. Maybe he helped defend somebody who was a fellow assaulter of police. Maybe that. But it's still not an excuse for what he did. Now, would Jeff Crouere or any of his listeners then say, oh, Liberal Dan should be let free and be pardoned by Donald Trump or whoever is the head executive of whatever governmental body put those charges against him, because all Liberal Dan was trying to do is protect a life? Of course not. Why? Because the only time blue lives matter is when blue lives are attacking black lives. Otherwise, blue lives, they don't think that blue lives matter if blue lives are trying to stop white lives from committing acts of terrorism, insurrection, etc. I know for a fact that they would not say, oh, Liberal Dan was just trying to save a life. Nope. Wouldn't happen one bit. They would not do it, so I'm not falling for it here. I'm not believing it here one bit either. I'm not going to believe their excuse. Oh, he was just trying to save a life. Nope. He was trying to prevent government action. He was committing an act of violence against police officers. He was swinging a bat and a shield, according to the videos and the allegations and charges made against him. And now he's in the find out phase. And again, I hope that Donald Trump goes through all of the people who are under charges or whatever and says, I'm not going to do Jake Lang because he assaulted a police officer. And I want to see the MAGA tears at that point. I want to see the insurrectionist tears at that point. I want to see them turn on Trump finally. I don't think it's going to happen because I think Donald Trump will do the blanket pardon, because I don't think he cares. Unless he just does no pardons because he realizes these people aren't going to help him anymore. So therefore he doesn't have to do anything for them. And he's just going to keep saying that he's going to do pardons on day one until day one happens. And then he'll just go on with other things and do drill baby drill and all the other things he wants to do as dictator on day one. Anyway, what do you think? Agree? Disagree? Do you think Donald Trump will pardon everybody, including Jake Lang? Do you think Donald Trump will pick and choose who he pardons, thus pissing off some of his base? Do you think... what do you think about the pardons? What do you think he's going to do? Leave your comments down below. Remember to like the video, share it, subscribe to the channel, and have a good day. There you go. Just under 8 minutes. Choo-choo. Exactly so, Liberal Dan. Thank you, Roxanne. And that video will go live. It will go live first, probably for members after the show, and then it will also go live for other folks in the morning, probably. Mad Mac, he will pardon the ones that give him the most publicity. Maybe. And one of the I wasn't including this on the part that I recorded, but it's here. So one of the things that one of his other callers was trying to know if I were worried about like the people who were trespassing on property or whatever. I never once messaged the trespassers, the people who were there, who didn't like push barricades, who didn't assault cops, who didn't actually break windows or try and break through broken windows and locked doors, or who didn't steal government property, who didn't damage government property, who didn't try and walk off with government property. Like the people who may have just said, okay, well, I'm here because I like Donald Trump, and I don't like that he lost. I don't think that he lost, because they're silly and they still believe the big lie. But if they just walked in after everyone else, if all someone did was take a seat in the middle of the congressional chambers, I mean, there's arguments to be made as to why they should be punished, but I'm not going to cry if Donald Trump pardons those people. I'm not going to cry about it. Whatever. Maybe they learned their lesson. That maybe certain actions should be taken. I don't know why they trusted Donald Trump anyway, because Donald Trump again had 2 weeks to pardon all of them. But the reason he didn't was because he wanted to get reelected, and he might have figured that pardoning them now will not get him reelected in 4 years. But I'm not really worried about the people who are non-violent, unless there was another part to it, unless it was shown that here is somebody who was not violent but helped plan the thing, then that's completely different. But if you just were there and you weren't trying to scale the building, you weren't trying to attack cops, you weren't spraying pepper spray in their eyes or whatever they were using, you weren't doing anything else, and the only thing you did was just walk around the Capitol building, and I'm not talking about the people who were chasing after the police officer either, because that's also different. But if all you did was walk around the building, look around, sit in a chair, if that's all you did, I'm not worried about it. If Trump pardons them, I'm not going to sit here and cry about it. But if he pardons Jake Lang, if he pardons people who actually committed acts of violence on that day, yeah, he's cementing even further that he is a traitor, that he is treasonous, he is aiding and abetting the enemies of the state. And that includes Jake Lang and any other insurrectionist folks. Yes, Dean Baker, Lang lies like a dog. Exactly, he does. But I even pointed out to Jeff when I called in earlier today, I was like, look, either you're misinformed or you're misinforming. Because you said that Jake Lang is just sitting there in prison, longest jail term or whatever. And guess what? Jake Lang literally asked for extensions to prolong the situation in hopes that Donald Trump becomes president and then can pardon him. So we'll see. Did they ever identify the pooper? I don't know if they ever identified the pooper. So let's see. This administration is determined to socialize the cost of their privatized profits. Exactly. Well, that's what they do. That's what they, going back way to the point I was making earlier about insurance. They've socialized profits by pushing risk to like the National Flood Insurance Program. They pushed the risk on it. Right? So I didn't say hi to Kevin, I don't think. Hey, Kevin, good to see you. Thank you for joining and participating. So let's see. Did anybody else I miss? I mean, MJ Daniel, good to see you. Police attempting to stop the illegal entry in the Capitol doing their duty. Exactly. And I also guarantee you that if the roles were reversed and the people felt that Donald Trump stole the election and you had a bunch of mostly marginalized and oppressed people, a large black contingent of people attacking the Capitol, there wouldn't have been like Ashley Babbitt and maybe one or two other people dead who are MAGA supporters. Well, I say Ashley Babbitt, but her correct name is Terrorist Barbie. But if it was black people protesting a election that they felt were stolen and they stormed the Capitol, the capital of the United States would be just drenched with the blood of black people. And these people wouldn't have blinked an eye. They would have said, should have followed the law. That's what they would have said. So why don't we say that's back to them, back to the Republicans? Had Jake Lang followed the law, he wouldn't be in the position that he's in. Part of civil disobedience. Everyone forgets the idea where people say part of civil disobedience, whereas if there's an unjust law, that the rules under civil disobedience is that you should not follow the unjust law because it's unjust. But what people forget about that is the little caveat, is that if you break the unjust law, if you don't follow the unjust law and you actually do something that's illegal, you also have to deal with the consequences and punishment of that to show the unjustness of the law. Otherwise, you're not doing what they said to do. Mad Max, they have to have the DNA of the pooper. Yeah, that's actually funny. I watched the show Will Trent, and there was a situation where you had two dogs. And the people were arguing as to over whose dog made the poop. And the police officer, who is on leave and is working as the security guard in some sort of rich, wealthy community, was basically like, well, they were like, let's test the poop and see whose dog it is. And apparently in this fictional community, they actually take DNA samples of all the dogs so that you can find out which dog pooped. So maybe that's what they should have done for all the MAGA people too. Take all of their DNA samples to find out who dropped a deuce. Now, question, Mad Mac, did they, when the person dropped the deuce, did he upper deck it, or was it just was it somewhere else? Let's see. Let me just pull this up real quick. Oh, yeah, that guy. Will Enrique Tarrio be pardoned? Let's see. 2 days ago, lawyer for ex-Proud Boys leader Enrique Tarrio asks Trump for pardon. Well, of course he does. Will he give it? No. Enrique Tarrio, see, Enrique Tarrio is one of those people that I was talking about, if you didn't go in and if you didn't do all these violent things, but he's one of those but people. He's one of those folks that helped to plan this whole damn thing. If you helped to plan it, yeah, I don't care that you didn't do anything else. You helped plan it. There were guns staged. There were staged weapons somewhere else. The conservatives will often say, well, they didn't have guns on them. No, they had guns planned, and they were going to bring in the guns. And they were going to use them if everything else wasn't successful. Mad Mac, upon arrest, police take DNA samples. Sure. But did they arrest the person who pooped? That's the question I have. But again, what happens if Trump pardons Tarrio? I would consider it to be akin to him pardoning Jake Lang as well. It just makes Donald Trump, as somebody who will then have given aid and comfort to the enemies of this country, domestic, because they take an oath of office supposedly to protect America from enemies of the republic, foreign and domestic. Tarrio's a domestic enemy. Lang, in my opinion, is a domestic enemy of the state. And by Donald Trump pardoning them, he will have given aid and comfort to the domestic enemies of this country, and as such, should be guilty of treason. And that would be enough to hang people's hats. I think that would be enough to hang a reasonable, logical person's hat on impeachment and removal from office. But we all know, as we discussed last week and Monday, Congress lacks the spine to do anything. They lack the spine to do Anything else? Let's see. Is bear spray different than pepper spray? I don't. It may be different quantities of stuff. What is bear spray made of? Bear spray is made of capsaicin, the same compound that makes peppers hot. So basically, bear spray is a pepper spray. Yeah, Donald Trump is enemy number one. Absolutely. But he's also he's treasonous by being an enemy, but he's also treasonous for giving aid and comfort to other enemies. That's my point. So bear spray is effective even in windy conditions because it emerges from the canister at over 70 miles an hour. I did not know that. Learn something new every day, I suppose. It inflames the eyes and upper respiratory system. If used properly, it can effectively deter an aggressive bear. And the Alaska Department of Fish and Game says to treat bear spray as if it was a firearm. I mean, capsaicin flying at you at 70 miles an hour, that seems pretty dangerous to me, right? So, anyway. What else did I want to talk about today? I've been very tired today. I don't know if I've yawned as much as I did Monday, but I don't know. I may not do a very long show today. We did get up to 25 viewers at some point, so I guess I shouldn't have worried too much as to whether or not my show and Boston Brian's show interfered. Although we have had more, and I don't know if currently anybody who would normally watch here has went on over to Boston Brian instead of coming here. I don't. Of course, I would love to have more high quality listeners. All right, here we go. This is what I'm going to do. Before I end the show, we'll talk about some fun stuff as well. But whether or not you're conservative or if you're liberal, left-leaning, what have you, I will more than happily, we're going to open up the phone lines a bit. 562-542-3261. That's 562-LIBDAN1. And if you want to call into the show, leave your comments, etc. We will take questions. We will have conversations, etc. Hey, Steven, good to see you. Thank you for joining. Appreciate you. Remember to smash that like button. Mad Mac, I left Boston Brian to come here. Love you. Thank you so much. P-Dubs, thank you for lurking and eating dinner and liking and commenting. All of that helps. Everything up. Views helps. I don't know if Josh was saying, as Josh was saying earlier, I don't know if he was thinking about maybe doing dirty stuff to help, but does it have to be dirty stuff that would help the algorithms on YouTube? I don't know what that is. So, Dean, thank you as well. I mean, again, I don't begrudge Boston Brian. I like Dude. Haven't watched Boston Brian as much, but again, I think everybody should be successful. I think we could do a better job of coordinating with each other so that we're not interfering with everybody else's streams. But again, one of the reasons why the left tends to lose is we don't do a great job of coordinating with each other. And then we do too much infighting. So one of the things I want to be clear about is I don't begrudge Boston Brian for having a show. I think everybody should subscribe to his YouTube channel, follow his Twitch channel if he has one. I think everybody should, if you can afford to do it, at least join the minimal level of these channels as much as you can. Support all of the channels you can. Dude, Brian, Chucker John, Hal. I mean, I'm sure most of you support Hal if you can. Anyway, that's kind of like preaching to the choir with our group, with most of our group at least. But I think everybody should be, helping everybody's algorithms get up, which means liking and commenting on all of the progressive, Politics Girl, Carbon, Tommy, Brian, Hal, John, myself, 21st Century Suffragettes, any left-leaning progressive folks who are going to be involved in resisting this terrible presidency and all of the policies that are becoming that are we hurting marginalized and oppressed people. Give them as much aid and help as you can to help their channels grow. I'm all about that. Maybe something, if it's possible that some things that people might do that are part of those channels that might bother me at one point or another, might tweak me, might irk my nerves, as we saw Monday, but it still doesn't mean I don't want them to be successful. It still doesn't mean I don't want them to grow and have more things that help their algorithms, etc. I want everybody to be as successful as they can be. If you're fighting for the good cause, if you're fighting for the right fight, or the correct left fight, I should say, if you're supporting the correct cause, then I want everybody to be supported. So, let's see, P-dubs, I don't know about you guys, but I'm totally disgusted with our legal system, with Republicans, and with anything Trump. Absolutely. I mean, our legal system has failed us. Garland shat the bed and should have acted much sooner. It's ridiculous that we have a legal system that allowed for Cannon that didn't require Eileen Cannon to recuse herself because she was appointed by Trump, especially given what she's done in the past and what she was then able to do prior to the documents case, and now what she did with the documents case, and now trying to suppress the report from Jack Smith that we should all have a right to be able to see because it should be available via Freedom of Information Act. But yes, the justice system is failing us over and over and over. There are a lot of people for whom this justice system has failed well beyond this, well before this, and it will continue to fail well beyond this. But yes, our justice system has major problems and needs major reform. But the fact that somebody can commit the crimes that he committed and then can successfully run for president and win, the fact that he won is not something that's necessarily something that's bad about the judicial system. The fact that he won says something about our voters, or at least a significant portion of our voters. Not a majority of the people who voted, because apparently if you look at all the raw numbers, a majority of the people voted for somebody who wasn't Donald Trump for president. There are people who voted for RFK Jr. despite the fact that RFK Jr. dropped out of the race and endorsed Donald Trump. There are people who voted for other folks. But if you had all of Vice President Harris's votes up, with everybody, all the other third-party candidates that were out there, those votes are more than Donald Trump's votes. Yes, he still won the Electoral College, and that's how we decide, unfortunately, how people become president. But, a significant chunk of the American public has been fooled by Donald Trump because they believe the snake oil salesman. They believe that he's going to make America great. He's going to put America in the shitter. So, Dean Baker, more than any time in our history, the rule of law should have prevailed absolutely correctly. Judicial system needs to be overhauled. Absolutely. Insurrection in his bag. Yup. We're all in the same boat. The USS Resistance. Yes. With Hal Sparks at the helm. Captain Hal Sparks. And all of Hal's lieutenants, all of Hal's other folks. Again, one of the important things, one of the things that I've talked about, why we need the bad media personalities to go away, why we need to fight against those media personalities who are raising horrible things, horrible issues, making horrible points, making it harder for us to win. I mean, it's not just Lawrence. I mean, I've talked about Alex Wagner, I've talked about many other people who just don't know what the hell they're talking about and are doing more harm than good, because they're ignorant of what goes on in the real world. If you're ignorant of the manosphere, don't be commenting on issues that the manosphere talks about. If you think, oh, this manosphere thing must be new. No, it's been around forever. Again, and if you say the bullcrap that Lawrence O'Donnell has said, again, why should we believe him? There's no reason to believe Lawrence O'Donnell. Again, great that he does the kind fund. Great that he helps Malawi children get desks and helps young women go to high school. That's great and wonderful, and I appreciate the fact that he has a platform to be able to do all those things. I don't begrudge him for using his platform for that. What I do begrudge him for is using his platform to spout bullshit. It's kind of like how that's what the Young Turks do now, too. The Young Turfs, I should say. Hal was talking about them earlier as well, and Anna Kasparian and her ridiculousness. Oh, we're all supporting Bernie, and then Hal's like, nope, I'm supporting Hillary. And she was like, blah, 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 and doesn't like Hal Sparks and insults the, quote, Hal Sparks types. So she doesn't just like the Hal Sparks, she doesn't like the Hal Sparks types either. Because, we have brains, and we understand that the Young Turfs are terrible and, have jumped the shark way too many times. Jen, you're exactly correct. Not a mandate less than 1.56% of the vote. It was one of the thinnest votes between two presidential candidates, overall popular vote in history, especially if you're looking at the percentage amount. But yeah, Donald Trump absolutely does not have a mandate, and the claim that he does is just absurd. So, again, 562 542 3261, 562 LibDan1. We'll leave it just for a couple more minutes. If nobody calls in, we'll just go ahead and shut it down and end the show at that point. The young twerks. I don't want to see Cenk Younger twerking. That is not a visual I want in my head. So that's why I call them the young turfs, because they have spouted anti-trans rhetoric, and as such, they should be chastised. Like, if you're a leftist and you support trans rights, you cannot then, without being a hypocrite, support Anna Kasparian and Cenk Younger after they did their BS, trying to, hopping on the J.K. Rowling bandwagon. Josh, I like the tumbler. Oh, the cup? Yeah, it's a New Orleans Pelicans cup. So I got it at a Pelicans game. So apparently, to go to the next Pelicans game, to sit in the upper bowl, it cost $1. That's how badly the Pelicans are doing right now. It sucks. Holy itchy butt rash, it's Liberal Dan Radio. Holy smelly butt crack, it's Seha. Bloody hell, it's cold out there. Is that the new lyric of the Baby It's Cold Outside? I really can't stay. Bloody hell, it's cold out there. I must go away. It's bloody cold out there. Anyway. First, I was like, I like the Tumblr. I was like, I don't think I have a Tumblr account for Liberal Dan Radio. I was like, what are you talking about? And then I was like, oh, Tumblr. He must mean cup. The temperature's way down low. That there was one time's a karaoke. There were a couple of the geriatric folks who actually I do like when they sing, because they don't sing deplorable songs like the Mammy song by Al Jolson. But there's this one guy who he and somebody else would sing the Baby It's Cold Outside song whilst in the winter seasons or whatever. And there's some issues with the Baby It's Cold Outside as well, from some of the words and how some people interpret it. And people have said that the what's in this drink back in the day might very well have meant the drink is not strong enough, as opposed to you're drugging me in order to force me to stay. But he was talking about this one guy would sing, and he had a very deep voice, like really, baby, it's cold outside, and he would sit there and sing about it, but he would change the lyrics about the snow, and he would say that the snow was up to your nipples, but he wouldn't say the bad word for nipples or whatever out there, and every time he did it, I would just giggle like a little schoolboy, whatever. Josh, I've been burning wood at double the rate all week here. Well, the only people that's gone through more wood is Donald Trump's mother. Sorry. How about the Coming Down My Chimney song? Which one's that one? I don't know. Again, I'm Jewish, remember, so I don't know all of the Christmas songs, unless there's other lyrics that I would then instantly get it from. The snow is up to dawn. But yeah, it's crazy. I mean, where I work has offices several places, and several southern places are closing tomorrow and Friday. Are implementing a work from home strategy, simply because of the fact that the inclement weather is going to make it impossible. Hell, if that actually snowed here, like if we got flurries here, this is how ridiculous New Orleans is. I understand some of it, because we don't have like snow trucks or the trucks that can plow and can spread salt across the road to make it so that the ice melts. So we don't have those here. But when we've had times where it flurried and nothing stuck, but even though it flurried, they just shut the whole city down because we don't know how to handle that crap. So, Don Jr.'s nostrils. Anyway, the snow is up to Don Jr.'s nostrils. Well, that's a different type of snow there, Dean. That's a type of snow. A foot of snow in Kansas City, Missouri. Wow. That's crazy. Remember when Donald Trump said, congratulated the Kansas City, congratulated Kansas for winning the Super Bowl when Kansas City Chiefs won? Yeah, good times. I wish that was the only thing we had to deal with Donald Trump. I wish it was just stupidity. I wish it was just stupidity that we had to deal with him. But no, it's much more dangerous than that. Anyway, it doesn't look like anybody's calling 562-LibDan1, 562-542-3261. So we're going to go ahead and shut down the phone lines again, and just do not put on Do Not Disturb, just so I don't get calls in the middle of the night. It's easy when it happens that way. Anyway, so anything else? Roxanne Y, want to come warm me up? Oh my! I really do need to get a better whatchamacallit, a better soundboard. Although Trucker John was saying that he doesn't need a soundboard, he just does the sounds himself. But I do that too. But especially the boom boom tsh. But yeah, yeah. I was actually caught Trucker John the other day. I was working, but I still had him on the back. Saw that he was on, and so I put him on in the background to make sure that I could again help the algorithms, because Al Gore doesn't just need more rhythm when it comes to my podcast. Al Gore needs more rhythm when it comes to everybody else as well. So anyway, thank everybody for joining the show. Appreciate you for stopping by and hanging out here. While I'll see if Boston Brian is on. If he's still on, I'll probably hop over there first before heading over to Dude, whilst I work on editing and uploading the other videos that I recorded whilst we were streaming live today. Again, if you're on Twitch, thank you so much. You're going to get a hard exit until I can find a song that I can play both on YouTube and Twitch. But until then, unless anything big happens, again, we won't be back here until Monday, 8 p.m. Central, here, liberaldanradio.com, twitch.tv/liberaldanradio. Remember, go to the channel, like, comment, share, subscribe, get other friends, share things to your friends on your other social medias. I'm Liberal Dan Radio pretty much everywhere. Twitter, Blue Sky, Twitch, TikTok, YouTube, Facebook, all the other places. So go follow all of the places over there. Boston Brian just shut down. Okay, well, if he just shut down, then I will be heading on over to Dude at that point. Anyway, I'll be heading over to Dude there. So goodbye, Twitter folks. Thank you so much or not Twitter folks. Twitch folks for joining us now. We're getting a hard exit in a few seconds, and then everyone else will get to hear the outro. Appreciate you all so much. Have a great night, and peace.